Thank you for choosing to learn about the Continuum of Literacy Learning. This is such a great resource by Fountas and Pinnell that we can use in our classrooms. It is the whole heart of the new Fountas and Pinnell classroom. So let's just dive in and take a look at what we're going to learn about the Continuum today. Well, the Continuum serves as a curriculum guide to use in observation, planning, teaching, and reflecting, and always asking that vital question: what are my students showing that they know and can do? The Continuum describes text characteristics and behavioral goals to notice, teach, and support pre-kindergarten through middle school. Fountas and Pinnell always talk about reading behaviors, and the Continuum is all about behaviors. And it is their belief that it is the observation and the analysis of the students' reading behaviors that inform your moment-to-moment decisions and next teaching moves. Sometimes assessment is administered and the results are recorded, but the process stops. We are not sure what to do with the data or where to go to the next with our teaching. The Continuum is our bridge between the assessment data and the specific teaching that our students need. So as we have embarked on doing the benchmark assessment system from Fountas and Pinnell, and you now know, or you are on the journey of knowing where your students are, we're going to take that data that we gleaned from each of those reading records, and we're going to bridge it by using the Continuum to instruct your time during your guided reading time. The Continuum has been revamped and redone by Fountas and Pinnell. It is you probably have an old copy on your campus, so I hope that you have a copy in front of you because that's what we're going to use today. If not, I think you can get the benefit, but after it, I hope that you would go and get in your Fountas and Pinnell kit and get a Continuum out of that, or go check one out from the library. The Continuum is divided into 8 different sections. As you open up the book, you'll see that there are 8 different sections that Fountas and Pinnell really believe that define a classroom, a literacy classroom. It just provides for us in all of these different areas that you see up here, all the different aspects of language and literacy instructional framework that we need. So in the first section, they talk about interactive read-alouds and literature discussion. In the second section, they talk about shared and performance reading. Third is writing about reading, and then 4 is writing. 5 is oral and visual communication. 6 is technological communication. 7 is phonics, spelling, and word study. Each of those different sections are, if you look in your Continuum, are divided in grade levels about what would happen, what are the behaviors to notice, teach, and support in each grade level, pre-K through middle school. The last section is the guided reading section, and that's the section that we're going to really hone in on and learn. We'll learn about the others later, but right now we're just learning about what we've done with our assessment, how we can take it into our guided reading practices. So if you'll turn the Continuum on its side, you're going to see that it is divided in colors. The blue aqua section is the one that I'd like for you to open it to, and it is on actually page 399. This is the section that we're going to look at. So I'll give you a few moments to get that. In this section, the Continuum is by the Fountas and Pinnell text level gradient that you see before you. This shows the different text levels from A to Z+, and then it's showing you where Fountas and Pinnell believe that each grade level should be. We all notice that we know that we have some even at grade 6 that are still in this area or even this area. So as you see, their disclaimer over here is this: the grade level goals on the F&P text gradient are intended to provide general guidelines, which should be adjusted based on school district requirements and professional teaching judgment. However, we are using the Fountains and Canal text gradient and looking at how we are moving children forward. But remember, it's not about a child. A child should never be leveled like an A or a B reader. That levels are a teacher's tool. So while we're talking about this, I'd like for you just to take a few moments. I'm going to give you a few moments and turn and talk, or jot down if you're by yourself. How are levels a teacher's tool? Well, I hope you talked about how important it is to know a level of a child in your classroom. And so we go back and look at it. So if you know what a student's independent reading level is, you know exactly what books need to look like and what levels that they're going to need to be doing it. So it's really important that those children or those students have, and when they're reading independently, they have a level with which they can be successful. Now, sometimes they may choose a book that's a little bit harder, and we're always going to encourage them to have choice. But as a teacher, during that guided reading time, it's very important that you know their instructional level, and that's where they are going to be able to process text successfully with your support. So I hope that helped you about learning about that. Every reader comes to the page with certain strategic actions that they need to be employing to be a strategic reader. These are the 12 strategic actions that all readers must really do to be a proficient reader. So I hope you downloaded this copy so maybe you can write on it as we talk about this. If you didn't, this is also located on the front cover of the Continuum, and you can look and maybe take notes with that. But all readers are employing a wide range of systems of strategic actions while they process text. So the 12 systems of strategic actions include the following. But as we look at them, what I want you to think about is this is where, as we are doing guided reading, where we should be focusing, helping our children with these following actions as we look at them, helping them to develop all these actions to be great readers. And the continuum from this point on is designed and organized around the 3 types of thinking. So let's take a look at the first, which is called thinking within the text. So right here, searching for information. Beginning readers will overtly search for information in their letters, in their words, in pictures or sentence structures, and they also use their background knowledge to be able to do that. Self-monitoring to know what for accuracy and understanding. Beginning readers will display evidence of monitoring and self-correcting, while high-level readers, they kind of keep this evidence underground. But all readers should be monitoring and checking themselves as they read. Solving words is very important. Early readers are just beginning to acquire ways of looking at words. They look at word features and word parts. But our high-level readers employ a broad and a flexible range of word-solving strategies that are that they're in their thinking. The next is fluency. At early levels like A and B, they're going to be pretty much doing one-to-one with their finger going from word to word. But by level C, we want that finger to be taken away. That's when dialogue is introduced into text. And we want them for their reading to sound more like talking. Fluency is not a stage or level of reading. It's just a way that reading sounds like. Then adjusting reading in order to process a variety of texts. At all levels, readers may slow down to problem solve words or complex language, and then they will pick up the pace. At higher levels, this process we don't really get to see because they're reading silently, but all readers are making adjustments as they're going as they read. The last one in the thinking within the text is summarization, summarizing what and remembering the information in a type of summary form. Readers are constantly summarizing text as they read to know what they're reading. So those are the thinking within the text, and this is where most of our K-1-2 kids stay. Doesn't mean that they can't get to these others, but this is where most of their reading their strategic actions are around thinking within the text. So the next ones are thinking beyond the text. This is where we see lots of predicting. They're making predictions at all levels. Even in our pre-K classrooms, kids are predicting by maybe what the title looks like or the book cover looks like, but all readers are always making predictions based on the information and text that they read. And then at all levels, readers are using their prior knowledge as well as their personal experiences to tie what they're reading and making connections as they read. Then readers should be synthesizing at all levels, gaining new information from the text they read and having it adjust to what they already know. So synthesizing that new information with what they already know. And then inferring, reading between the lines, what the author is maybe intending but just hasn't stated. So that is thinking beyond the text. The last two types of strategic actions is thinking about the text. And this is more about author's craft, about thinking analytically about a text and reflecting on it and drawing conclusions about it. This is like when a writer uses italics, and why would the writer do that? Why would the writer, maybe in a poem, do a poem in a different, how they form the poem, and then critiquing about it. That means even beginning readers may simply say they like this text or they don't like this text. And then at the very higher levels, they're evaluating and they're thinking about the authenticity of the text. So within the next section, as we look at the different levels of reading, these 12 strategic actions will be identified in each level. And so it's very important that we really, as we prepare a guided reading lesson, we're thinking about these strategic actions. So as we start to use the continuum, we want to look at how this section is organized. With each text level, there are 4 sections. Section 1 tells us the characteristics of the readers, what that reader looks like. The section 2 talks about selecting text for the guided reading lesson. Very important that what the teacher selects for that instructional time is extremely important. It needs to be within the level that will support and guide the students through gaining new information about that particular text. Then section 3 is about the demands of the text, the 3 ways of thinking. And then section 4 tells you about what does the word work look for the guided reading level that you're looking at. So we're going to go back to what we've been doing in our classrooms and in our schools. We've been using the BAS, Balance and Pinnell assessment system to know and get where our children are. So when we're looking at this little guy, he is, here's his work. We've got his instructional levels, his independent level, and then the level that's a little bit hard for him. And then we're going to see that his independent level is at an F, and his instructional level is at a G. So you're going to go back and look at what did your kids do, where are they at, and then you may be looking at just one particular student, or you may be looking at, now that you know where they are, have you grouped them and put them in groups. And so we're just going to think about that this little guy is with a group of folks that their instructional level, independent level is at F. So we're going to make sure that for him, we'll look at level F and make sure that perhaps he is really there, and then take a look at what a level F looks like and making sure that in that independent reading time, that little guy's got the level F going and he can be successful without any support. And so looking at how the text works, because in each section it will show you what the text looks like and the features of it. So now in his instructional level, maybe that you put him in a group of folks that are in level G. And so I am looking at on page, and looking at level G within the continuum. So the very first page tells us that, remember that first section, it gives us the characteristics of what a reader looks like at level G. And so we read that and we think, oh my goodness, this is exactly these guys. They encounter a wide range of text. They still are reading text with 3 to 8 lines per page, but size is smaller and there's more words on the page. They have a lot. They're starting to have a large number of high-frequency words, and they have to pay attention to slightly more complex storylines. They're beginning to notice character attributes and further feelings of the characters and how they might change. In this particular level, they're able to use a wide range of word-solving strategies, making connections using word parts while attending to meaning. They're going to read words, but most texts are going to have only a few challenging vocabulary words. In their oral reading, when you're talking about their fluency, they're going to demonstrate appropriate phrasing and word stress, and just tells you all types of things that's kind of important. And the other piece to this is then it's going to show you at a level G, what does that text, because every text has 10 characteristics, and you'll notice that in the book they'll tell you about what the 10 characteristics are. So they're listed here. So we're looking at, in a level G, the new things. Here is this, when you see a square that's red, that means that it's new to that level. So traditional literature, folktales, you're going to see folktales in level G. There's going to be dialogue, long stretches of dialogue, language that speaks directly to the reader, language used to make comparison. So and then it's going to talk about all these 10 different characteristics of that particular level at level G. And then it also gives you a picture of, so if you're looking at selecting text that maybe might be a benchmark, does that text really have all these features? Because that's what this particular group of children need to be able to do at their instructional level. So that selecting text is so important. What you select for that group is important. So this kind of gives you that guide of selecting what's really going to help these kids move on. Then we move into them really looking into the text, and this is when it's divided with thinking within the text, beyond the text, and about the text. And what this excites me about is when we gave the reading assessments, the reading records, we were finding that when we were asking the students the comprehension questions, that they were having maybe some difficulty. So as we use the continuum in our guided reading practices and using these type of things, just think about how the next assessment, if we're using these types of thinking and different kinds of prompts with them, how much they're going to grow the next time we test them. So here you see that thinking within the text, so you're looking at anything that's new is within that thinking within the text in level G is going to be new. So you see how it's taking those 12 strategic actions and it's giving you behaviors to understand, teach, and support. So that's very good. And then here's beyond the text. Here's those and how that it looks like at level G, beyond the text. It really looks a whole lot like a level F. And then thinking about the text, we have some new things that recognize language that speaks directly to the reader, like you and your, and thinking analytically about the graphics and how they show you information. That is huge. That is huge on STAR. So you see those sections are telling you about what you're going to be doing with that reader. Then the fourth section is planning your word work. So it's showing you that within this particular range of readers, these are the most researched, well this doing your word work around these particular types of working with words is going to be really important and move these kids on. So that's the section of how the continuum works. It really helps you in planning for your word work. So what I want us to do this next few minutes when you do your work time is I want you to take a small guided reading group that you'll be working with next week. Find the instructional level of the group, study the section that applies to that group, and then answer the questions on a sheet of paper for your use with your guided reading in the next work time. So I want to thank you for listening to this. I know it's been a little bit long, but this Continuum is a rich resource, and your academic coaches will be helping you with those as well.